Recording in progress.
We good, Dave? We're good. Okay. This is the December 6th meeting of the Dayton Planning Board. We are being recorded for replay on the town YouTube and cable TV. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business is to confirm the next meeting date, which would be December 20th at 7 p.m. I know the chairman, Jeff Cavallo, will not be able to make it that evening. If anybody else, we will need a quorum, so make sure everybody else, we have at least 3 people that can attend that night.
December 20th, I will not be at that meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the 3 of us? Okay. So if somebody want to make a motion? Do we need to make a motion for this?
I'll make
No.
the motion.
Motion, okay. All right. That's
No
okay.
motion?
Okay.
Okay.
First item of business is to review, discuss the Form A application for Dayton Center LLC, 1901 County Street, map 17, lot 29. I don't believe we have anyone in attendance this evening from the applicant. Okay. Excuse me?
They were unable.
Right, okay. But it is a Form A application, it's rather straightforward. So this is, let's see. This is a division of a tract of land on a subdivision for a conveyance with an attached plan. Let's see, any other information here, specifics to the, just as a note, the subdivided parcel is not deemed a buildable parcel at this time, until some future date perhaps that we're either joined with another lot or we're given some dimensional relief, but at this time it would be an unbuildable lot. Does anybody have any questions about the application?
I don't.
No? All right. Do we hear a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The next item is for site plan review, 0 Elm Street LLC, map 20, lot 84-4 storage facility. We did receive peer review comments late this afternoon. I don't think everybody on the board has had a chance to review them yet, but you're welcome.
Good evening. For the record, Niles Zager from Zenith. So we presented before you probably a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, regarding the project. And we did receive these comments today. So obviously we haven't had time to fully address them. However, we did have a time to at least go through the comments. And I just had a few questions to help us move forward with the project. One was they were asking about architecturals. This is as you guys know, this is a prefabbed metal building. We can provide you with kind of some generic information on that, but I just want to make sure to make the board understand that these are it's like a prefab metal building. It's very simplistic. It's like your standard, storage building that you would see. So they just, when they go through this, they're going through every single regulation and they're making sure they're checking the boxes. So I get that, and that's good. But I just want to make sure that we are on the same page with you moving forward. So we can provide that for you. I just didn't want to make sure that the board wasn't looking for anything further than something simplistic like that.
Okay, it is a one-story building, correct?
It is a one-story building,
Okay.
that's correct. Yeah, it's just, I believe it's 20 bays, it's 10 bays on either side. So it's a pretty simple.
And they all come individual and then they're all just attached, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's all modular, prefabbed. Yeah, it's very.
Rolling door on the front.
That's correct.
But isn't that something that Jim would be the one responsible for that part there? I don't think we,
No, I think this is probably just to make sure that the board's aware of what this is gonna look like, to passerbys. We don't have anything in particular in our bylaws that would be prohibitive, but I do think it's a good idea just that the board knows what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, I think typically they want to know, they just want the board to understand that where the means of, even though this is only a storage building, where the means of egress and where the doors are going to be, and just kind of the general layout of the building to make sure that it works and functions with the site. So it is a legit question, and I just wanted to make sure. So we'll provide you with that information.
Okay.
But like I said, I just wanted to make the board aware that it's going to be very simple plans.
Yeah, like a shop drawing, basically, of the
Exactly.
building.
It's not gonna be like your standard architectural drawings where you see a lot more information. It's gonna be
Right.
pretty simple. Second, there's a requirement for construction time and cost. Is that something that the board's gonna be looking for? I mean, I can give something kind of generic, but I didn't know if that's something that, I mean, this isn't gonna start most likely until at least the springtime. Cost-wise, really don't have an idea yet. I know he's gotten some, clients gotten some costs on site work, which kind of blew him out of the water, unfortunately. But I can provide something, but again, it would be pretty simple. I just wasn't sure to what extent you were looking for. If you wanted quotes, I didn't know what you needed.
Yeah, that is a standing item. It's been in our bylaws for a while. It was discussed recently, and that is a requirement of the site plan for the bylaws. I don't know to what extent, I mean, I think it's to give us, correct me if I'm wrong, for anybody on the board, but I think it's to give us an idea of the timelines and what's involved, which is the reason for the cost. It's not a specific that we would hold people to, especially for the cost, which is, more on their end, but perhaps to the timelines.
do you have any idea what the reason is for us to know about the cost of things?
And we had a site plan review recently for that section. I mean, we reviewed the whole site plan recently and then went to the board, but we chose to leave that in. We did have that discussion here one evening. I think it was just informational.
Only for tax purposes, the only thing that I can think of,
Okay.
what that would be for.
But I think to answer your question is, it would.
No
be-
one else has ever given us the cost, like when the Aggie School did, they said that was like 100 and whatever million project, but no one else has ever come and told us exactly how much it costs. Really, I don't think it's any of our business. The tax assessor will evaluate and assess how much your property's worth, and then you'll get a sweet bill in the mail. But other than that, I don't think.
Yeah, it is, however, in the bylaws.
So what
that
I'll
you
do
are
is
to
in my
provide it.
response, I'll just give you a kind of a budgetary idea, something simplistic. I just wanted to make sure it didn't need to be like broken down for each area and what have you, how much of an extent I needed to go into. So if it can be fairly simple, I can get a general idea from the client and get you something, with
Are we asking for that, Kerry?
Do, yeah.
It's part of the bylaws.
Okay.
So when the engineer goes, our peer review engineer, they go through every single section.
Yeah, our peer review, we'll look at
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's something that we've never looked at.
Oh, I think it's a case-by-case basis,
Okay.
and it probably depends on the project itself, but, I think the generic is pretty much what most applicants provide,
Okay.
be in their summary.
They may look, they may not.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's not that we don't want to provide it. We're willing to provide it. It was more just the extent of what was necessary. So that was mainly the question. So we can absolutely provide that. The next one is not so much a question for the board. It's more for the Board of Health, which Mr. Aguirre, I believe, is going to probably look into. But there's a variance that's going to be necessary for the basin. We're using what's called an open basin in lieu of a closed basin, meaning like a subsurface basin. That we use them more because, one, they're more efficient, they're easier to maintain. It's just a all around better. It's actually required. It's a recommendation by Stormwater Management for open basins. But the Board of Health does have under their stormwater bylaw a requirement for closed basins. So it is a variance that'll be requested, but again, I don't believe that that's anything to do with the planning board. It's just something that I just wanted to bring in, up to the board so you were aware of it, that's all. In case you did have an issue with the open basin, we would have to address it now. Next is a lighting plan. At the first meeting, I discussed what was gonna be provided. It's going to be, wall-mounted lights, on the building itself with downward-facing shields. The building's set way back off the road. It's over 100 feet off the road. So there will definitely, and there's really no abutters to be affected. So that's usually when you're providing a lighting or a photometrics plan, you're usually trying to ensure that you're not going to have any spillover onto an abutting properties, or you're not going to have any spillover onto roads. In this case, there's absolutely no way that it could. I didn't know if that was something that we needed. Getting a photometrics plan can be sometimes a little bit difficult, but I mean, we can provide it. But it's, in this case, it seems like it's kind of overkill. But we're willing to provide it if, again, this is another one of those things in this situation, it seems like, it's not necessary, but if it's something that the board wants to meet, provide, we absolutely will.
The bylaws do state about some lighting requirements, for example, so the downward facing. I'm not sure that it goes into the extent that you were just referencing. Do you remember what's item on the peer review? Do you remember what this is?
So, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. All I have is
Looking at-
I didn't bring the whole
cool.
check, I just
Okay.
brought like a post-it, it was kind of like some,
5476.
yeah, they talk about I believe a photometrics plan.
Photometrics plans, like, it shows
The
what
lumens.
area
It shows where it wants to see what
Where
the
the light's
lumens
gonna
are,
hit,
where the
right.
light's gonna hit.
And do our bylaws require that? Or is it just, it just have lighting standards that are required?
Lighting standards.
Okay. So I'm not sure why the peer review would be asking for something above and beyond that?
What section is that?
that's 5476, where it says, I'm sorry, 5475? Sorry, I just saw lighting and went to that, but I could be,
I think we would be asking whatever the
I could see
minimum
us
requirements
worrying
are.
about
by
something like that if it was in the immediate city or next door to.
yeah, I mean,
To any house, that would be, but in a case like this, it's in the middle of nowhere, who's it gonna hurt?
Yeah.
Nobody, so,
Okay.
no reason.
All right, so, I mean, I'll just respond accordingly. I mean, we have natural vegetation that we're leaving around the entire site as well. That actually leads to the next question. They brought up a question about landscaping plan. Basically, right now, what we have is that storage building with pavement around it, and then you've got the basin, and then a little bit of grading with grass, and then it's gonna be mainly just all existing vegetation remaining. All from the front, sides, rear, to the wetland, are all gonna be existing vegetation remaining in woods. So we didn't provide any landscaping. There's no landscape islands. We don't want any landscape islands because we want to be able to have access around the building. For ease of plowing and just obviously ease of access to the bays. And it's not that the peer review is saying you need this, it's just saying, check with the board basically whether or not it's required to provide, if they would want it. So it's something that, again, I just wanted to check with the board on. I think in this case, we're providing the natural vegetation, which I kind of think probably meets a little bit of the intent. We're not just clear cutting the whole site, but I'm leaving it up to the board for that, it's to your discretion.
I mean, I would want to see, and perhaps you've already gone through the site plan on this, right? So, but I would want to see, even if it's just what is the existing, just so that we're clear that what is existing meets the minimum requirements.
Yeah, we're showing the existing tree line around the entire work limit.
So, and assuming that reflects the minimum requirements, then I wouldn't expect a plan above and beyond, that information.
Yeah, it meets or exceeds the buffer zone requirements for landscape for sure. I just didn't know if there was there's nothing that I can see, and I don't know if Mr. Aguirre can step in on this, but if there's anything as far as like landscape buffers inside the parking area, but like I said, we haven't found anything, but if that were the case, we would probably have to ask for a waiver just because of this, the circulation through the site, and what have you.
Does anybody else have any comments on that? Says if there being an issue?
No, I don't have
No,
an issue with
okay.
it. I mean, to
Okay.
put a landscape plan together for no new landscaping. would
Right.
be
For no reason at all,
Ridiculous,
there's no-
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be ridiculous.
Okay.
And then lastly, actually, two more things, I'm sorry. This one was, we've already discussed at the last meeting, was parking. There was, I want to say like 30-something parking spaces required. I know
Yeah.
we discussed that. We're only providing 4, but because of the use, I believe that the board was satisfied with our discussion at the previous hearing. But I just wanted to, I wanted to be able to respond to the reviewer in the response letter, and I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page on that. So as long as that's your recollection of it.
It is.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. This one is a little bit different. So in the town of Dayton subdivision rules and regulations, which again, I don't even know why that really applies in this case, but they are reviewing it for that. There's a requirement 4322. It says the stored runoff, so this is, we're talking about stormwater. The stored runoff must drain or percolate dry within 24 hours of the end of a steady rain. The applicant is proposing a constructed stormwater wetland, which is supposed to have a permanent pool, meaning it's supposed to contain water all the time. The applicant may need to request a waiver from this standard in order to proceed with the design as proposed. So they are absolutely right about that. The design that we're proposing is what's called a constructed stormwater wetland. It has an impervious liner at the bottom of it. And the purpose of that basin is to act as a wetland and is to act as a better filtration for stormwater. It acts as better for water quality, control, maintenance. It's a very simple maintenance basin. There's very little that you have to do with it. But as part of that design is there is a standard, there's a permanent pool in it. So there's always standing water. So they are absolutely right. I think at the minimum, I think a waiver would be requested. And I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of it. I will request it at the next meeting.
Stormwater meeting?
Wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it.
Okay, would there be a fence around it?
Actually, we're not proposing a fence around it. We can.
If it has standing water, I would like to see a fence around it for safety reasons.
Yeah, so, well, just to make, and I agree, I understand, we're talking about 6 inches.
That's
of wa-
okay.
What was that?
No, I don't care if it's 2 inches,
You got it.
right? We
Understood.
had an old selectman years ago, Mr. Frank Costa, and he was real tough on that.
Understood.
And I can, when you said that, he's the first guy I thought of.
Understood,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so we will provide a fence around it. That's not a problem at all. Around just the extent of it, that's not a problem. And that's it. So other than that, a lot of the stuff, there's a lot of comments and what have you that we have to address. A lot of it's just asking for additional detail and what have you. So we've got to go through these. I'm hoping that we'll have something, at the next meeting, is what we're gonna try. I don't know if by the time we get it to them, if the reviewer is gonna have time to have reviewed it. My other question is, I work with a lot of different planning boards in different towns. Some will allow us to speak with the reviewer, their consultant, to discuss these issues. Some will not. They'll make us just address and then submit. So I wanted to know from the board, I don't know how this works. Is it okay for us to reach out to them to discuss these questions, to try to address, or should we bring that through the board and just do what we feel is right and then resubmit?
Carrie, do you know what our process is?
So I can put you in touch with the engineer.
Yeah.
I think we had discussions, and then once with the peer review engineer in the process, as you know, it's a new peer review engineer, so starting from scratch. So he wanted to be hands-off until he receives the application and comments start going back and forth. Then once that starts happening where we are now, I can put them in touch with each other and they
Okay.
can.
And in terms of the timeline for you responding, talking to him, getting it back to us with sufficient time for us to review it, do you think December 20th is still feasible?
It's gonna be close.
It's gonna be close. Our next meeting after that is January 3rd.
So,
So if you wanna push it to then,
Yes.
That's fine too.
Yeah, so let's, for now, if it's okay, let's leave the 20th, if that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, unless that's gonna be the only thing on the agenda, and then we're gonna be holding you up for a night. I would ask for a continuance before anyway.
Okay.
But I'd rather hold it just in case there's a way of getting, because we have conservation, meeting the 19th, so the night before. So we may get approval then, so we might have approval then, and then if everything goes perfectly, we might be able to get approval at the 20th hearing as well. So that's the only reason why I even asked. If the Conservation Commission meeting was after, I wouldn't even ask this.
Right. So I can put them on the agenda,
Okay.
and then as we get closer, we can chat and
Okay.
Great.
go from there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do we need to take a vote to continue this?
Motion to continue
Okay,
to.
so I have a motion to continue this to the December 20th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The last item is site plan review for Truck and Iron Traders LLC, 1886 County Street, map 17, lot 84, for new office showroom building for vehicle and machinery auctions. Do we know, Carrie, if the applicant was coming tonight?
I think, Niles, are you doing this one too?
Okay, all right,
He's got double duty tonight.
okay.
Double dipping.
Again, for the record, Niall Zager from Zenith. Thanks for having us. So this property is located at 1886 County Street. This is the locus here. So you've got County Street here. And Sunset Avenue. The existing parcel is 1.438, roughly 1.43 acres, and it has no wetlands located within the existing boundaries of the property. The site is fully either paved or has reclaimed asphalt.
Do you mind if I just ask a question while you're presenting? So the existing building that's there is not on this parcel? It's
There is no building.
It's on an adjoining parcel?
There's no building there.
Is it this building or this building that you're asking?
I think the one to the left there.
This one, yeah.
Is that also owned by the same owner?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's not changing at all? This is just a brand-new building? Okay.
This will be a
All right.
brand new building, that's
Okay.
correct. Good question. And I'll go over the proposal in a minute, but, so this is the extent of the existing, existing property line here. So again, like I said, the entire site is either paved or reclaimed asphalt. It's a full redevelopment, what we consider a redevelopment project. It's not vacant, it's vacant, but it was previously developed. It's the topography on it, so the elevations range from elevation 18 here down to elevation 16 here which is the north side of the property. And then there's actually like Jersey barriers that run the majority of it. Those drop down to below elevation 14, elevation 12 and 13, I believe. So those are being used as kind of like retaining walls around the boundary of the property. It's access through, you have existing access off the county, and then you have existing access here off the county, which then accesses off of this kind of access road from his other property here. The property's located in flood zone X, which this is more for conservation purposes, but I just want to make everyone aware.
Can I stop you for a second? That other back access, does that come in off of Elm Street? Up the top, left there, yeah, right there, yeah.
If it does, I'm not aware of it. If it, this
There's
is,
a soccer field back there.
Yeah, but you said there's access from there,
there is.
somewhere.
There is, so yeah, right here. Right here.
Okay, but not off of Elm Street.
No.
You could walk to Elm Street if you walked.
Yeah,
back.
right, but there's not an access road there, right? Okay,
I'm sorry. I mean like access into the property itself, like, just into the side,
Okay.
sideline here.
all right,
So thank you for clarifying that.
no problem.
And then also as far as flood zone, so this dark line here, that's a flood zone, actually from the river, is elevation 14. So that's where it's jurisdictional for conservation, which we will be filing with conservation for. The site is not located in any natural heritage endangered species. It's not located within any other jurisdictional areas for conservation. There is an existing septic system located on site, so there's these tanks here, and then there's a fairly good-sized leaching field that's there that was used for I believe it was a restaurant at one time that was there and has since been removed. But that septic system was actually inspected by the previous Board of Health agent as well as an inspector and passed, so they plan on utilizing that. That will be utilized in a site plan with the Board of Health as well. The proposal for this project So the proposal for this project is roughly a 7,500 square foot building. And it's going to be used as an office showroom for the client. He does like auctions and stuff like that, and that's what he plans on using it for. He wants to use it as a showroom and mainly an office for himself. What we've done is we've provided 38 parking spaces, which meets or actually exceeds the requirement of 37 that's required for zoning. So we won over on that, and we've provided 2 handicap van accessible parking spaces as well. The building is going to be serviced by public water supply, and as I stated, the private on-site septic system that's already currently there. Lighting is going to be similar to what I talked about on Elm Street, where it's just going to be the wall-mounted wall packs with the shields facing downward. There's really not necessary for anything else. It's where the bays are. So there's some access doors here, and the means of access here and here. So that's where we have the lighting. So we have 7 lights total proposed on the plan. They're shown as these like little triangular lights there. Dumpster. Dumpster is located in the rear here. We have a detail on that. It's going to be on a concrete slab, and it's going to be fenced in for privacy purposes and just so it obviously looks cleaner. It'll have a gate and for access. We are proposing, in order to make the drainage work, because right now, as I stated, the site is fully paved. And with the building and the existing septic system and the utilities that are necessary to bring in, the only way to get drainage to work and to do something with the drainage was to extend. Luckily, he owns, this significant piece of property behind it. So what we're proposing is we're going to be extending the property line on this lot further to the west by 55 feet. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us enough room to be able to make the stormwater work, which I'll go through in a minute on the next sheet. We will obviously have to come back in front of the board with an A&R plan if and when site plan approval is issued for the project. But we just wanted to show that it could be done on this proposal. So again, like I said, that's being created for the stormwater basin. The stormwater is being controlled via a stormwater basin. A portion of the parking lot and the entire building is being controlled within the stormwater basin. This is where the grading is and a little bit more of the detail. So when we're looking at stormwater, typically when we're looking at a vacant site like we were on Elm Street, for instance, we have to fully meet stormwater compliance. In a situation like this, where it's considered redevelopment, you have to meet it to the maximum extent practical. DEP understands that when you have these sites that are limited in area and that they've already been previously developed, you just do the best you can to make them work. Luckily, in this case, we have the ability to do what we're doing because he has other ownership of the land. So we're able to try to meet the standards and try to control the stormwater. If he didn't own it, we would basically be saying, listen, there's nothing we can really do. We have really no room to do it. So in this case, we're at least able to meet it maximum. We're able to what we call maximum feasible compliance. So it doesn't fully meet stormwater, but it meets it much better than what's there now. Right now, it's just a fully paved area with no drainage controls at all. What we're doing is we're taking the building, we're taking a good portion of the parking lot, we're treating it, we're controlling it, and then discharging it. So it's a.
But that property wasn't always paved. the particular owner now has been paving over that.
The part, that front part was always paved since it was a restaurant.
Yeah, just the front where the restaurant was,
No,
but now,
Even the back was
Yeah.
paved.
It was, because I was the one who demolished half of that building when it started to fall down.
yeah,
The pavement was the entire front, the entire side where the septic was,
yeah,
and then it only went around the back a short distance. The
Right.
building took up a good part of that left side. But I would say 70%, 75% was paved.
right. So, the water has to go somewhere, and somebody needs to be responsible for that.
Yep. Yeah, and luckily he has the ability on his site to be able to control it, like I said, so that's the good thing here. So again, it's in a situation like this, it's difficult because it's an existing site with existing, without drainage, existing drainage features, but again, we're able to meet it to the maximum feasible compliance, so that's what we're trying to do here. It's considered redevelopment, I already went through that. So this basin falls within the flood zone like I talked about. That's gonna require a filing with conservation. We've actually already filed the notice of intent with the Conservation Commission, and we're on for December 19th for that hearing as well. So that will be the first hearing that we have for that. And that will be, I'm assuming, reviewed by a review consultant simultaneously. We are proposing erosion controls around there, basically limited work, all the down gradient areas here, all going to be silt sock, to try to put, ensure that no construction debris and what have you, and any erosion will be controlled through that silt sock. That will obviously be inspected by the conservation agent and anybody else, that's, any other, department heads that, wish to see it. Silt sacks are also being proposed inside the catch basins that are out on County Street, just to ensure that there's no sedimentation that gets into the catch basins. And there's also a means of sweeping during construction to ensure that there's no debris that gets out there as well. Luckily, again, one thing about it being a paved site obviously helps keep it cleaner than where if it were wooded and mud and what have you, so it does make it a little bit of a cleaner site to contend with for sure. Other than that, the rest of it's all just details, construction details and what have you. So that's kind of the general gist of the proposal. We understand that this is going to get sent out for review, so there's still a long way, ways to go for the approval process. But we just wanted to give you kind of a general overview of what we're looking to do, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
The chairman, Jeff Cavallo, wasn't able to be here tonight, but he did have a couple comments. They're kind of small, and, I think even if it's not updated on the plan, I think they're cared for, but nonetheless, it'd be nice if they could be updated in some way. The first is regarding the parking. So the parking is 200 square feet, a parking spot for every 200 square feet of the business. So the calculation yield is actually 7550 divided by 200 equals 37.75 is required, but you round up. So 38, you said 37 is required, but we gave you 38. Actually, it's 38 and 38.
Oh, okay.
So you're meeting it, but the requirement is 38 in fact. So
Okay.
it's just a small point. So it's not a point of contention. It's just
Understood.
updating the record. The second is that per Appendix B of the zoning bylaws, the maximum number of stories allowed in the structure is 1. It appears from the drawings that the structure is only 1 story, but that should be explicitly stated somewhere. And lastly, the site plan drawing package lists the zoning law bylaw Appendix B dimensional requirements, but omits the necessary qualifiers for each listed value. And what he means by that is you list, for example, required lot size 8750 square feet, required frontage 150 square feet, et cetera. Actually, it's minimum lot size is 18750. Minimum frontage is 150. It's not required. It's just the minimum maximum values per the like the building height maximum is 35 feet. It's not the required to be 35 feet. So he just wanted to call that out.
Okay, so, yeah, 'cause we are providing a table which shows what's required and what's provided. So
It's just that it's not required, it's the minimum required or maximum required depending upon the criteria, but yeah, gotcha. You just wanted to clarify that.
Understood.
Okay.
I can forward those to you as well.
Thank you.
And before I open it up for everybody else who might have discussion, I just want to be clear, what is being asked of us this evening? So Carrie, as you said, this is just the beginning. So what is being asked of us is to vote on whether or not to put this forward for peer review
For the peer,
with the required dollar amount that's associated with that, right?
for the amount, for the 7,860.
Okay, all right. So people have questions for the applicant this evening?
He's building this to continue to stay in this site for his own business, right?
That's correct.
So this is not going, okay.
That's what I've been informed.
That's the only question I have.
Any other
And then
questions?
My only question, just, so they're gonna pitch the parking lot so that it ends up in the basin, not necessarily have structures on site that will collect and distribute.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Any other questions?
I don't have any
No?
questions.
All right. Does somebody want to make a motion for approval for proceeding to peer review?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
You guys have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Let's see here. Next on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes for November 15th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move?
Oh, Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any correspondence?
None.
None? Any public input? Input?
Oh, oh, oh.
Oh, sorry, public input?
Sorry.
It's all right.
I was gonna send an email to the board, but I think, after hearing tonight, 2 commercial properties come before you, I think this is a better venue. So I did a little research on dark sky lighting. Dark sky lighting is lighting that will not contribute to light pollution that we all see when we drive towards cities at night. It also controls the amount of spill that comes from a light fixture that would go to adjacent properties. In the research I did, you don't need a bylaw to require dark sky lighting. But I'm just a suggestion, it might be good for the board, seeing as how we are rural and everybody wants to keep Dayton rural with these commercial properties coming up. Maybe we consider requiring dark sky lighting fixtures for the lighting on the properties. Right, thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So, no other business? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, Cable.
Thank you, Cable.